Have you ever woken up and thought, what am I doing with my life? Maybe you feel like you're stuck in your current job, and no matter how hard you work, there's no clear path forward. Maybe you have this nagging feeling that there's something more out there, something you should be doing, but aren't. If that resonates with you, then it might be time for a pivot in life. Pivoting isn't easy, and it's definitely not about making a rash decision. It's about recognizing when it's time for change and how to approach it with purpose. In today's video, we're diving deep into what it means to pivot in life and how you can do it strategically. We'll cover personal stories, myths, and real-world examples to show you that pivots aren't just possible, they can transform your life. Pivoting means making a shift, whether in your career, lifestyle, or personal direction. It's about recognizing that what you're doing now may not be working and taking steps to move into a new space that aligns better with your passions, talents, and goals. Imagine this. You're playing basketball and you can't find a clear shot. What do? You pivot. You change direction while keeping one foot grounded. In life, pivoting is similar. You shift while holding on to your core strengths and values. Let's travel around the world and explore some stories that remind us of the power of pivoting when life seems stuck. Let's talk about Steve Jobs, one of the greatest innovators of our time. In 1985, he was fired from his own company, Apple. Can you imagine how devastating that must have felt? But instead of giving up, Jobs pivoted. He went on to create Pixar, which revolutionized animation. Then, Apple called him back, and the rest is history. This story shows that even when life pushes you away from what you thought was your path, the pivot might lead to something even greater. Our ancestors were masters of pivoting. They didn't have the luxuries we have today, but they understood that survival often depended on adaptability. In many indigenous cultures, people would reflect on their lives through storytelling, often speaking of journeys, battles, and transformations that required bold shifts. A well-known piece of folk wisdom is the phrase, adapt or perish. It's as true today as it was centuries ago. Think about how societies, businesses, and even families have had to pivot in the face of adversity, using lessons passed down through generations to guide their decisions. One of the biggest recent pivots we've seen is how people adapted during the COVID-19 pandemic. Entire industries had to shift overnight. Restaurants turned into delivery-only services. Teachers adapted to online learning, and businesses embraced remote work. It wasn't easy, but those who pivoted successfully managed not only to survive, but also to thrive in a new reality. Another example is the rise of the gig economy. Many people who lost jobs during the pandemic had to pivot, turning their hobbies or side hustles into full-time gigs. Platforms like Etsy, Uber, and Fiverr became lifelines for those needing a new direction. These modern pivots remind us that life doesn't always go according to plan, but there's always a new opportunity if you're willing to shift your perspective. Albert Einstein once said, "In the middle of every difficulty lies opportunity." This quote resonates deeply when we think about pivoting. It's not about avoiding challenges, but seeing them as chances to grow, to shift, to pivot. Brené Brown, a leading researcher on vulnerability, speaks about the courage it takes to step into the unknown. Pivoting requires vulnerability. It means admitting that what you're doing now isn't working and that it's okay to try something new. Pivoting in life is like changing the course of a ship. You might be in the middle of a storm, heading straight into turbulent waters. But the pivot is the moment when you adjust the sails, change direction, and find a new path that leads to calmer seas. Just like a ship doesn't turn instantly, neither do our lives. But every small adjustment helps guide us toward a better destination. Another metaphor? Think of life as a journey. Sometimes you'll hit a dead end or a detour. And the only way forward is to pivot and find a new route. It's all part of the adventure. Bading gisil. Pivoting doesn't mean abandoning everything you've learned. Instead, it means building on your strengths while learning new skills and adapting to the new environment. Start by exploring areas that are complementary to what you're already doing. If you're in marketing, maybe your pivot is learning about digital content creation or data analysis. If you're in finance, your pivot could be learning more about fintech. The idea is to stay grounded in what you know while expanding your skill set in a way that prepares you for the new space. Here's a challenge for you. Take some time this week to reflect on your own life. Is there an area where you feel stuck? What's one small step you can take toward a pivot? Maybe it's exploring a new career path, learning a new skill, or even just having a conversation with someone who's made a similar shift. Drop a comment below and let me know what pivots you're considering. What's the next move you're going to make? I'd love to hear your stories. Pivoting in life isn't easy, but it's often necessary for growth, fulfillment, and long-term happiness. Whether you're facing a career change, a personal transformation, or a shift in mindset, remember that you're not alone in this journey. Great stories from India, the US, the Philippines, Nepal, and Canada show us that pivots lead to new opportunities, greater wisdom, and deeper satisfaction. If this video resonated with you, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone who might need a little inspiration to make their own pivot in life. Don't forget to comment below with your thoughts and experiences.